T. Washington was born into slavery in Virginia in 1856. In 1872, he left home and walked 500 miles to Hampton Normal and Agricultural Institute in Virginia. Along the way, he took odd jobs to support himself, and he convinced administrators to let him attend the school and took a job as a janitor to help pay his tuition. Washington graduated from Hampton in 1875 with high honors. 4 years later, in 1879, he was chosen to speak at Hampton's graduation ceremonies, where afterward he was offered a job teaching there. 2 years later, in 1881, the Alabama legislature approved $2,000 for a colored school, the Tuskegee Normal and Industrial Institute, now known as Tuskegee University, which Washington was recommended to run. Classes were first held in an old church, and as his school grew, Washington would travel all around the South to raise funds and gain support for the school. He became very well known and skilled in speaking and politics, and he soon became one of the leaders of the civil rights movement. Under Washington's leadership, Tuskegee became a leading school in the country. He remained the head of Tuskegee Institute until his death on November 14, 1915, at the age of 59. On September 18, 1895, Washington gave a powerful speech which became the basis for the Atlanta Compromise, an agreement that Southern blacks would work and submit to white political rule, while Southern whites would guarantee that blacks would receive basic education and due process in law. Though the Atlanta Compromise was later criticized for being too accommodating to the demands of the white community, it helped secure basic educational rights for numerous African Americans. Washington believed that if African Americans worked hard and obtained financial independence and cultural advancement, they would eventually win acceptance and respect from the white community. So, his teachings were seen as controversial by some black leaders, even though he did a lot to advance African Americans. From 1900 to 1912, Washington published 5 books, one of which was a best-selling autobiography entitled Up from Slavery. He founded the National Negro Business League in Boston, Massachusetts in 1900, and he was the first African American to be depicted on a U.S. postage stamp. He was also the first African American man who was not a servant to be invited to the White House. Washington's meaningful accomplishments have led to countless monuments, streets, and buildings bearing his name all over the United States. And of course, not the least of which is Booker T. Washington High School in Atlanta Public Schools. Washington High School opened in September of 1924, and the class of 2024 will be the school's 100th graduating class, also known as the Centennial Class.
This is Atlanta Public Schools, APS. APS has produced titans of business, entertainment, sports,
on in the backfield, the fastest time in the world,
education, and law. APS alums have shaped the foundations and values of Atlanta and the world.
And I've seen the promised land.
I'm the one. And Krispy Kreme donut will make you wreck your car. Am I lying?
APS, leading Atlanta, leading the world. This is our legacy. We are Atlanta Public Schools.